All righty, we're going to wait a few seconds for people to join us and then we'll dive right in. All righty, welcome everyone and welcome to the Chamber's first joint webinar of an 8-part series with DeVry University. For those of you who I have not met or do not know me, my name is Natalie Layton and I have the pleasure of serving as the Chamber's VP of Membership. We have an excellent webinar today discussing how to turn your talents into strengths. So with that, let's get on with some brief housekeeping before I introduce our speaker. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be distributed to our registrants, membership, and available on our YouTube page as well. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to use the chat or Q&A feature, which will be found at the bottom of your screen. In addition, you can use the raise hand feature and we will call on you that way. Our presenter, Laura Knapp, will be able to answer all questions at the very end of the webinar. And if you want to know more about membership in the Chamber, just send me a quick note and I will get back to you on that. Now I have the pleasure of introducing today's presenter, Laura Knapp. Laura is the Center Dean at DeVry University and its Keller Graduate School of Management in Long Beach, joining at the end of 2016. She's a California native and a longtime Long Beach resident, having lived in Bixby Knolls and California Heights neighborhoods in Long Beach over the past 20 years. She earned her Bachelor's of Arts at Cal State Long Beach and MBA at USC's Marshall School. She's a member of the Long Beach Rotary, the LB Chamber, Toastmasters, and is the current chair of the South Coast Higher Education Council, a consortium of area 2- and 4-year universities. She's passionate about education, which helps equip graduates to make a difference in the fast-growing sectors of the economy. So thank you so much, Laura, for joining us, and I am going to turn it over to you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Natalie, for that introduction. Thank you to the Long Beach Chamber for co-hosting the series with me. I'll be presenting through the month of February. Thank you everyone for joining. I know it's still early in January and we're still getting back, to work and everything like that. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to join. And my number one wish for everyone is that you are healthy, right? And that you are well and that your extended families are doing well. It's crazy times, it's crazy times. And I like to say, I'm just going to start by saying my number one focus when things get hectic and what I tell my family and my kids is, let's focus on what we can control. And even beyond that, number one is health. Let's focus on our health, staying healthy, right? Staying fit. That includes mental health, I believe. Second for me is education, right? What are we feeding our brains? What are we doing with our own professional development and educational development? And I'm not saying that as a pitch, to go back to school or anything like that. Education can be, what books are we reading, right? What are we studying informally? What are we focusing on at work? Certainly there are courses that you can take, at Keller or USC or CSULB or anywhere. There's also free courses that LinkedIn provides or Coursera or Udemy. There's so much out there. What are we doing to feed our brains, right? Because that continuing education, in my opinion, is what can help fuel our own mental health, our own physical health, and also our careers. And number 3, I always say, is career, right? Career, it's what puts food on the table. It gives us a sense of self, right? A sense of purpose. Career is very important. And so the webinars that I'll be providing are really kind of career growth and development type topics. I think January is perfect for this sort of thing. It's the traditional time that we're thinking about our New Year's resolutions and jotting down our goals and thinking about how to be more successful. And no matter where you are in your career, maybe you're mid-career, you're just starting out, maybe you're seasoned professional or entrepreneur, I think it's always a good time to take stock of your talents, right? The topic for today is turning your talents into strengths to give your career and that journey more momentum throughout, more sustainable momentum and growth. Okay. We're going to be doing a couple of exercise, hands-on. So I would say hands-on meaning writing, jotting down ideas. I'll be asking questions. So if you have your journal, if you have a pad of paper, if you have anything, even just a Word document pulled up, that would be awesome for you to take some notes. And we also will be leveraging chat. I'll be sort of, asking questions, and I would love to hear back from you as we go. So let's stay interactive. Let's keep this interactive as we go. Don't be shy. I know you're not shy. Okay, so moving right along. Yes, thank you again, Natalie, for the introduction. We're going to be talking a lot about a strengths-based approach. Strengths psychology was pioneered by Clifton, who also happened to invent the Clifton Strengths Finder approach, which incorporates many, many years of research done by the Gallup Association, categorizing human talents. And so I'm not a Clifton Strengths coach, or, I don't get a commission from promoting his book, but I find it a very practical approach. It's something actually that we do use in our own career services. And I'll be, kind of talking about this approach that basically at the crux is about understanding what your talents are, turning them into strengths, and leading from a place of strength as opposed to weakness. We never want to lead, with our weaknesses, but I think sometimes in our quest to be these perfectly well-rounded people, we can fall into a rut where we're focused a little bit, maybe too much, on those gaps of where we need to get better. And I'm not saying ignore that. We all have opportunity areas. I'm saying let's take stock truly of our talents. Let's turn them into strengths, and let's lead with those strengths. Okay, so that's the Clifton Strengths approach per se. My own strengths, and I have taken the assessment, right, are written here at the bottom of this slide. Strategy. Anyway, if you take the assessment, you get 5 strengths that they outline for you. And according to Clifton Strengths, I'm strong in strategy, responsibility, context, I'm restorative for whatever reason, and deliberative. Okay, so we're going to dig into these strengths and these categories a little bit on in the presentation. But really the goal for today is, first and foremost, what is the difference between a talent and a strength? I use these words interchangeably, talent, strength, right? They go together. So what's the difference, at least according to the Clifton Strengths approach? We're going to do some exercises, as I mentioned, so we can begin to assess our own talents. And I know you all are super talented bunch, and you're all probably very self-aware, but I think it is a good time to again, assess, reassess, really understand what are we strong in, especially here at the beginning of the new year. In a very different sort of year. Last year, quite unprecedented. I know many people are considering pivots or change or evolution in their own careers moving forward into 2021. So we're going to talk a lot about, different assessments and how to turn those talents then into strengths and how to leverage them for career growth. Okay. So that is our goal for today. Question for you. I guess I'm just going to throw it out to the group. How would you describe, or how would you define a talent? Anybody in the group, feel free to chat that in the chat box. How would you define a talent? What is a talent? And don't be shy. Exactly. I know this is not a shy bunch. And hopefully we've had enough coffee and everything like that. How would you describe in your own words, what is a talent? Oscar, thank you. Yes, Tracy, absolutely. Yeah, something that just comes naturally to you. It's a skill, something that you have, something that you're good at, right? According to the Clifton approach, a talent is a naturally recurring pattern of thought, feelings, or behavior that can be productively applied. So it's something that you come with. It's something absolutely that comes naturally to you, and it's something that can describe us. Oh, Natalie is so talented, at introducing people clearly and giving those, introductions. And oh my gosh, Amanda is so talented, at organizing events. A talent will influence our choices, right? It kind of will naturally influence us or push us to certain, areas rather than others. It directs our actions. It can explain why we are better at some things. Oh, Tracy is just talented. She's talented at XYZ. It helps explain her persona, her personality. And it helps us filter the world with so many opportunities out there, so many choices, so many things we could be doing, in our careers and in our futures. A talent will help us, if we know what those talents are, will help us filter the world out so we know what to concentrate on, versus what to let other people concentrate on, right? Okay, so that's a talent. A talent is naturally occurring. Then, logically, what would be, or what do you think a strength? How would you define a strength? What is a strength in your own words versus a talent? How would a strength differentiate from a talent per se? Sometimes feels a little bit like the same thing, right? So it may be hard to really pinpoint, what is the difference? And so I'll fill you in, at least according to the Clifton Strengths approach. Yeah, Tracy, you're exactly right. Thank you. Yeah, it's something you've learned and developed. So a strength is built on your talent, though. A strength ideally and really necessarily builds on your talents. It kind of builds on what you are already good at naturally, kind of the gifts that you have been given. And then we add knowledge gained through practice, research, and education, and skill. Skill is developed through practice and application. So a talent is something naturally recurring. And I'd like to bring up the example of, your favorite, I guess, concert, pianist or concert, musician, somebody really good in music or in any field, in programming or what have you. And there's usually a story that goes with that where they picked up, or they started playing the piano at age 4, and they were so good at it. It was so clear that they had a talent, but then that talent was followed up by years of practice and education and investment in that skill, right? Years of training and education, lessons, and everything to improve. So this is the process of building and nurturing your talent and developing the skill to create a true strength. Okay, a strength that can be, kind of used within a professional setting, within your personal life as well, right? So identifying your talents and focus on how to turn them into a strength can be easier, believe me, and much more productive than focusing on the weaknesses, those weak spots or those areas of opportunity. So if you have on your list of things to do this year, your resolutions, if they're all like, kind of dealing with areas of weakness, right, or areas of opportunity, I would encourage you also to take stock of your strengths and make as your resolution, or take stock of your talents, rather. There I go, interchanging the words. Take stock of those talents and see, how can I turn those into strengths? Okay. I think many of us are very familiar with the conventional approach of identifying improvement areas. I think it's baked into being an employee, right? We all have those, I guess, IPP or annual reviews, or even at school, where we're told, okay, keep doing what you're doing. You're great at this, but I want to identify these areas of improvement. And we're going to put together a plan to help you improve those areas. This is very common. So you get this detailed plan on what you can do to improve, your weaknesses. Okay, keep doing what you're doing, but let's focus on your weaknesses. Okay, so the strengths-based approach basically flips that, and it says what we should be doing, not only, at our businesses, in corporate America, at organizations, but also within our own personal lives and development, is first starting with the talents and developing those talents into strengths, and really coming up with a plan in order to invest, in those talents in order to turn them into strengths. Okay. So that is our different approach. And oftentimes, and again, I'm not giving everyone a carte blanche to ignore weaknesses and say, well, that's just part of my talent, or it's the flip side of my talent. Obviously, we want to keep those weaknesses in check. But the thing is, the more you develop your talent, it almost lifts your entire ability a bit higher so that you can better manage and even be more self-aware of those weaknesses. Okay. Also, understanding what our talents are, we become more attuned to the people around us and we can understand what their talents are, right? So where we do have weaknesses and we're not that strong, we can understand who are the teammates that we have, or who are the people in my family, in my network, at work that can help me achieve what I need to achieve, right? Without having to be 100% good at every single thing, right? Jack of all trade, master of none. We want to lead with our talents and strengths and leverage our teams around us, if we are weak in any areas that we need to be strong in. So I just have a very simple, it's almost a very silly exercise, but I would love for you to participate in it. This is just to describe what I'm saying with so many words. Grab a pen, and with your non-dominant hand, I'm going to ask you to write your name. Okay, just jot it down. Probably you've done this as a kid or youth growing up. It's kind of a funny exercise. And I did this yesterday just to, practice this exercise. And well, go ahead. Somebody who's doing this, tell me or chat to us, how does it feel? Right? How does it feel to write with your non-dominant hand? And we're writing our name, something that we know how to write very well, right? Years and years of practice. How does it feel to write with that non-dominant hand? Yes, quite uncomfortable. To me, very uncomfortable. The words that came to mind were, this is a huge waste of time. Yes, funny, weird, very strange. Exactly. Exactly. Funny, weird, very strange. To me, I felt like I was wasting time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I start panicking. I'm like, I'm not. Okay, so write it again. Write it the second time. And if you've written it a second time, write it again. Tell me how much you're able to improve. You've been able to improve. And if we do this 100 times today, do you think you're really substantially going to be able to improve? Writing your name with your non-dominant hand, probably, maybe a little, absolutely, maybe a little. Oscar's improving. Okay. Oscar's improving. Awesome. Okay, now with your dominant hand, we'll do something that feels more comfortable. Take your pen and write your hand with your dominant hand. I'm a right-hander. So yes, we've had some practice with it. Absolutely. We've had some practice with writing, basically every day, So we have that skill. It's actually a talent at this point, or a strength rather. Thank you. See, I keep, interchangeably weaving these words. But writing with our dominant hand it's a talent. It was kind of born into us, and we've turned it into a strength through years and years of practice. Now, do you think if you wrote your name a couple more times right now, could it get better even possibly? Is there a potential maybe to improve your penmanship? Maybe you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is so much easier. Maybe I will take up calligraphy at some point, or at least improve, my penmanship. And you'll see a little bit, more improvement, or at least a bigger, sense of improvement, focusing on that dominant hand versus the non-dominant hand. So pretty silly exercise, granted, but hopefully this helps illustrate the point. And I think it was over 40 years ago that Peter Drucker, management guru, right, said that one should waste as little effort, as possible on improving areas of low competence. It takes far more energy to improve from incompetence to mediocrity than it takes to improve from first-rate performance to excellence. Okay. So this is, Peter Drucker, very well known, kind of management, organizational management and leadership guru. And absolutely, I agree. that it's true. And according to the years and years of research that the Gallup organization has done and the book written by Clifton, et cetera, it's absolutely, true, and something that we should take stock of. So strengths are important. People who focus on using their strengths, according to the same research by Gallup, are 3 times as likely to report having an excellent quality of life. And they are 6 times more likely to be engaged in their jobs. Okay. So exactly, who doesn't want that, right? So people who focus on their strengths, people first and foremost who know what their talents and strengths are, and then focus on using those strengths in their career, in their professional lives, in their personal lives, have these outcomes, these very positive outcomes. So that's what I mean when I say momentum, creating more momentum in your career this year by leveraging these strengths. Okay. Moving right along. We're not going to do the assessment right now, the Clifton Strengths assessment. There is one out there. Has anybody taken it, by the way? Anybody familiar with the Clifton Strengths approach, or with the book and with the assessment? Has anybody taken that? Let me go ahead. Okay, so a couple of people. Okay, so you have taken it, Tracy and Natalie. Very good, very good. So you have your 5, top strengths and everything like that. That's brilliant. Okay, Gina, absolutely. Yeah, and I would say, it's, if you've taken it a while ago, according to, what I understand, the strengths don't necessarily shift a lot, but there can be surprises, there can be shifts, given that we are evolving human beings, right? We're getting into new things, we're growing, hopefully. Our careers are changing, the things that we're focusing in on at work are changing, right? And so there can be evolution, I think, with the strengths. So I think it's always a good idea. Maybe, maybe you don't want to do another strengths assessment, but there are other assessments out there. There's Myers-Briggs, right? And there's a lot of, free assessments out there as well that can be taken. And each of them, in my mind, has a different lens. Clifton Strengths is talking about these abilities that are almost vocational, that can be applied at work as well as in, personal life. But things that are utilitarian in a way that we can really get benefit from. And then there are so many other assessments, right, into personality preferences and things like that. So I'm a believer, you don't have to take them every day, but maybe once a year, right? And it being January again, some sort of assessment to see where we are, in terms of our strengths and preferences. And again, leading from that place of strength. So again, we're not going to take the exam or the assessment right now, this very moment, but I do have a couple of questions, 5 clues, that 5 questions we can ask ourselves, basically, to help develop an understanding around what we're strong at. Okay. What kinds of activities do you yearn to do, or are you naturally drawn to on a daily basis? What are you thinking? Oh my gosh, I can't wait until this weekend to do XYZ, or after work, or the activities that you immediately kind of go to at work, or you start with. What kind of activities are you naturally drawn to? Okay, what are we yearning to do? Feel free, to think this, jot down ideas, on your pad of paper. Feel free to share. Again, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Okay, are you drawn to managing all the details in a certain project? For example, crafting and cooking. Absolutely. Okay, so very hands-on, putting things together, making sense of a recipe, right? And all those various tasks and ingredients, the pieces of the puzzle. Okay. What kinds of activities do you seem to pick up very quickly? What comes easily to you? Okay, and again, yeah, feel free to share. What comes easily to you? And Tracy was saying art, creative activities, exploring, exploring new things perhaps, things that you don't know about, things that you want to, find out more about. Julie, organizing, organizing things, putting things together. What kinds of activities do you seem to pick up super quickly? You know, something new at work, and you're like, oh yeah, this is not a problem. You know, I can pick this up really quickly, you know, or something new. Some people are good at picking up languages, programming languages or foreign languages. It's very easy. For some people, it's very hard. It just doesn't happen, you know, naturally. Connecting people and ideas. Exactly. Connecting people and ideas, you know, to make that sort of magical thing, you know, happen. Something, you know, coming out of these people connecting with certain ideas, and together we come up with something new, right? Yeah, anything hands-on for Tracy comes easy. Public speaking, networking. Okay, hands-on. Yeah, people-oriented. Yeah, what comes easy? What do you pick up quickly? So these are clues, right, to our natural talents. And for those of you who have taken the assessment, you know, the answers to these questions should not be a surprise, right? But I think whether or not you've taken the assessment, it should either be a good kind of way to really underline what you're strong at and be able to reinvigorate your investment in those areas. So what activities do you automatically know what steps to take? Has that ever happened to you? Where something at work maybe was assigned, or you know, something else, something in personal life or leisure life. Absolutely. What activities do you automatically know what steps to take? Somebody gives you an assignment, it's like, oh yeah, of course, here's what we do. Dot, dot, dot. It's not a labor for you to figure out how to come up, you know, with this process. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly, another, you know, positive psychology guy. He wrote the book on flow, and he talks a lot about, you know, how productive that sense of flow is when you're in it, how much you're actually coming up with, you know, in terms of productivity. So being in that flow is very important, right? So what areas, when do we find ourselves in flow? Technological activities, you sort of lose yourself, right? Anything techie, you're lost, and you're just, you know, losing track of time, but you're producing, you're being productive. It's not that you're, you know, out in space just thinking. You're actually getting so many things done. You're being productive, right? But you don't really see the time passing. Glimpses of excellence. Okay, what activities in the past made you think, oh my gosh, you know, how did I even do that? Right? How did I come up with that? That was cool. You know, that was amazing. I don't know how I had the energy or the way. You look back and you're kind of impressed with what you were able to pull off. You know, sometimes I look back on things and I'm like, wow, you know, that was really cool. I would like to do that again. You know, maybe it's an event that we put on at campus or something like that. But what activities make you think, how did I do that? Okay, so these are glimpses of excellence, and will show you where you do definitely have talent and strength. Satisfaction. What activities give you a rush, adrenaline rush? Okay, and there was a famous tightrope walker, trapeze artist, leader of a trapeze group, who said, you know, life is basically living on the wire. Everything else is just waiting. It's just waiting time. You know, we basically are living to be on that wire. You know, everything else is kind of, yeah, just waiting for that event. And so what activities are like that for you? What gives you an adrenaline rush, you know, at work or, yeah, personal life? You know, what do you think are those things or those activities? And everything else feels like it's just, you know, preparation for, oh my gosh, yeah, volunteering, helping other people, connecting with people. Tracy, and I think you said before, networking, you know, so it sounds like a very, yeah, lots of people, networking skills, giving back to the community, right? Huge rush. Where do you feel that rush of adrenaline? Okay, and that is a clue, right, as to your natural talents, as well as strengths that you know, have probably at this point, you know, have been investing in. So yeah, what stands out? Are there any surprises, you know, that you had sort of asking yourselves, these 5 questions? Any surprises, or is it more like underlining, helping you to really underline, what you already knew about your talent, your own talent base, your own personal talent base? What stands out? Okay, so going a little bit, jumping around here. So yeah, a little bit more about Clifton. This research is based on, data gleaned from millions and millions of different assessments over a 40-year period. Okay. And from the study, they created a language of the 34 most common talents. And these talents or themes do help us to answer questions like, how do I absorb, think about, and analyze information and situations, right? Understanding these talents and having a good grasp of them can help us to make better decisions, create better outcomes by discovering what we naturally do best and by avoiding, maybe, right? By not diving headfirst into the things that we're not as talented at. Okay. So he says, yeah, what would happen if we studied what was right with people versus what was wrong with people? Always trying to fill those gaps. What if we just focused in on those talents? So these are the 34 talents that they came up with. And obviously there are more talents out there, but I think this is, per their research over time, they came up with these 34 areas, and they're grouped into 4 domains: executing, people with executing, talents know how to make things happen. Okay. Influencing, people who end up having talents in these areas tend to take charge. They tend to speak up and make sure that the team is heard. If you find that you have talents in the relationship building domain, right? These are people that are able to really, truly build strong relationships that can hold a team together and make the team better than the sum of its parts. Okay. And those with talents under the strategic thinking domain, right? People with these themes consider what could be. They're thinkers. They absorb and analyze information that can inform their decisions and make better decisions. Okay, so strategic thinking. All right. You don't have to have, if you take the assessment, or even if you don't, just know that you don't have to have a balance within these 4 domains. You can have talents, I think, conceivably just in 1, or 2 or 3, if not all 4. I have talents actually just in 2. So, and again, this is according to Clifton Strengths. There are a lot of different assessments out there, but I tend to be more on the strategic thinking and the executing side, just so you know. Okay. So we're going to get a little bit more. I'm going to bring up a couple of the specific talents, the Clifton Strengths talents, really quickly. And go ahead and chat me if you are one of those people. Just chat, say yes. If you are one of those people who often, right, often and wants to talk with people in elevators, airplanes, grocery stores, anywhere, and I know we're all socially distancing at this point, but even through your mask, right, through your mask, you are striking up conversations 6 feet apart from other people, at, the elevator, airplanes, grocery stores. I don't know how many people are traveling right now, but anywhere you go, the gas station, what have you. Who are those people? Oh my gosh. Okay. Amanda, Tracy. Yeah. And you're not just doing it to be polite either. No, you have this, kind of strong, need and interest in really connecting with people. Okay. So according to Clifton Strengths, you may have the talent of woo. They call it woo, winning others over as one of your top 5 talents. People exceptionally talented in the woo theme love the challenge of meeting new people and winning them over. They derive satisfaction from breaking the ice and making a connection with somebody. Okay, so the question is, Oscar, yep. Yeah, always like to say hi to everyone around me. That's awesome. Yeah, and Tracy, woo. So the question is how to turn this talent, if this is a naturally given talent, how do we turn it into a strength, right? How do we turn it into a strength and something that we can lead with in terms of career? Just a question. Yeah, I just want to throw that out to everyone. What do you think? Tracy, Oscar, is this something that you know, how would this turn into a strength? I'll throw that out there, but I'm going to give some ideas. Give some ideas. You know, it's always, again, we talked about developing skill, right? So one thing is just the more that you capitalize on woo, the more you carry out woo, you know, the more you're doing it, the more skill you're gaining, right? Just from applying it. You know, are there certain jobs or certain volunteer activities or certain projects at work that would lend themselves, right? That would benefit from this woo experience. Yeah, great for networking. You know, if you're in an area that requires networking, I mean, just unleashing the woo will give you that practice and you're going to sense that momentum, you know, growing. You know, are there educational programs out there? I'm sure that there are, that you can take, or even courses on networking and things to help you turn this talent into a true strength that you can then put on your resume, right? Or in your LinkedIn profile. And I do recommend, by the way, I have my 5 talents listed on my summary in my LinkedIn. And I've seen a lot of people do that. You can list your 5 talents right on that summary in your LinkedIn profile and weave it in to your resume, right? Somehow as well, you know, your talent in woo. Yeah, you never know. See that, and that's exactly, Oscar. You never know when and where you'll meet somebody you can network with. And just having that, I think that attitude, right? You're always open to new opportunities. That is in and of itself sort of, I guess it's an obvious thing that you are that you are winning people over, Oscar. Okay, raise your hand or chat to me rather. Say yes if you organize your closet by color or style of clothes. So changing the topic. Who of you love to organize your closet by color or style of clothes? Okay. Okay. So everything is color coded, right? Tracy, Amanda, absolutely. Absolutely. So for those of you who are exceptionally talented in this area and think about organizing and color coding and extra points if you have like an Excel spreadsheet for any of your, you know, kind of storage, areas of storage or areas of organizing. You are probably an arranger, right? That could be one of your top 5 talents. And according to Clifton Strengths, people exceptionally talented here can organize, but it's not just that, they have a flexibility that complements this ability. They like to determine how all the pieces and resources can be arranged for maximum productivity. Okay, so it's not just I'm organizing, you're actually putting things together in a way that, again, maximizes productivity. So it's more than a sum of the parts. And I think, Amanda, I'm not surprised because earlier you said crafting and cooking, and it's like putting together those pieces of the puzzle to make something awesome, right? Okay, Oscar admits, not me. Okay, yeah, it's definitely, we can't all have, you know, the same. We're all different, right? We have these talents, you know, and developing them into strengths allows us to lead from our own, you know, talent base. Okay. Let me know if you love to write out lists of things to do every day. You're a list maker and you stick to that list quite often. Okay. Yeah, let me know. And if anybody would like to unmute themselves or ask to be unmuted, you can raise your hand. Feel free to dive in, certainly. Okay, Natalie is a list maker, but you stick to your list, right, Natalie? Like you do everything on the list. It's not just a list that at the end of the day, 100%. Okay. Yeah, list makers and people who definitely stick to that list. You may have the talent of discipline. Oh my gosh, yeah, crossing the things off is so satisfying. And this is a Clifton Strengths, you know, categorized talent, and it's called discipline. And people who are exceptionally talented in this area, They do enjoy routine and structure. Their world is best described by the order they create. Okay, the order that they create is just a wonderful thing in their own lives and in the lives, probably, in the people around them. So, how could you turn this talent into a true strength that you have on your resume, right? That you can speak to in interviews, okay, or that you can use to just build more momentum in your career. Okay. And again, the idea is, yeah, accept those projects or those volunteer opportunities, those stretch assignments that would allow you to practice the strength at work. Lead with that talent to turn it into a strength. Get experience in it. Yes, there are programs out there, in project management, but I'm sure you would excel in any area, that requires just a lot of discipline making things happen. Okay. Let me know if you see the glass as half full and are always optimistic. Who of you are just like, no matter what is happening? And again, oh my gosh, things are so crazy in the world. But who of you are always optimistic no matter what? You can always see the glass as half full, right? A ray of positivity. Absolutely. Positivity, exactly, positivity. I think we all try to be, yet there are people that no matter what is happening, swirling on around them, they remain positive, right? So this is absolutely, it's one of the talents that Clifton Strengths talks about. People exceptionally talented here have an enthusiasm that is contagious. They are upbeat and they can get others excited about what they are going to do. How would you turn this into a strength? Okay, again, yeah, question for you. How would you turn this into a strength? Okay. And again, is it, working in certain, on certain projects that require this, sustained positivity, right? And leading team, members in the face of adversity or areas of gray, chaotic times, right? How do you turn that positivity into a true strength that you can talk about? Again, in interviews, in your resume, on LinkedIn. Who of you are encouraged by the prospects and what possibilities lie ahead, right? You're encouraged by the future. You think about the future a lot and you're excited by it. You see what could be, right? And you're looking forward to it, right? Who of you is this? Who of you is feeling, very futuristic? This is actually a categorized talent according to Clifton Strengths. Okay, so if you are exceptionally talented here, you're inspired by the future and what could be. You inspire others with your visions of the future. Okay, how can this be turned into a strength? How can this be turned into a strength as opposed to a hobby or just a talent or just kind of a latent talent, right? How can you turn this into a strength? Okay. Yeah, feel free to chat in or take yourselves off mute if you would love to contribute. Okay. So the trick is we've talked a lot about talents. Okay. We've talked a lot about our talents. The trick is, yes, turning them into a strength. Okay. Really, the first step is understanding what those talents are. Okay. Understanding what those talents are, where they lay. And I know we're all such a talented, Long Beach Chamber, very talented group of people and very self-aware, yet really understanding and making sure that where those talents are and turning them into a strength is where we want to go if we want to develop more momentum, positive momentum in our businesses, in our entrepreneurial efforts, in our careers. Okay, yeah, exactly. It starts with understanding. Like a self-awareness is key. So understanding ourselves is definitely the first step. And that's why I've spent pretty much 80-90% of this presentation, talking about various talents and asking you all about your own talents. Okay, and here are some tools I have on the slide. Definitely you can take the Clifton Strengths Finder. There's a fee for it. I don't know. So unless your company has access to it or your school has access to it, there are other free tools. There are other free tools. There's something called the high five test, which I think is kind of similar. Again, they each have their own lens, but the high five test is free. And it's very similar to Clifton in that it gives you kind of 5 top talents that it sees according to the questions to their answers. Okay, so Myers-Briggs, I think everybody is familiar with Myers-Briggs. It goes back so many years. I took it in graduate school, when I was visiting their career center. So that was the approach that they took, understand ourselves through, that ENTP or whatever, whatever you are, and then go from there. So, and you can take Myers-Briggs. I guess there are some free versions of that assessment at this link that I have up here, 4 tendencies quiz. Thank you. Brilliant, Julie. Thank you for sharing that 4 tendencies quiz. That's awesome. I'm going to look that up. There are many, there are so many. We could have a much longer list. And I say, why not take them all? They each, again, have a different lens. Let's start with self-awareness and understanding. The thing is, again, according to Peter Drucker, right, we're going to get a much bigger ROI this year by investing in any year in our lives and in our careers by investing in those naturally occurring talents. How do we invest in those talents? It takes time. It takes effort. It takes a plan. Just like we've gotten those plans at work on here's how we want you to improve. We have to have a plan to develop those talents. And I would definitely recommend, if you're putting together still your New Year's resolutions, think of a continuing education plan. Okay. And again, it could be anything. There's so many free courses out there. It could just be volunteering, raising your hand more for projects that are a good platform for you, right? And for your talent so that you can get more experience in those areas. Research, if there's anything you can do through research, through reading, pick up a book, join a book club, I'm not sure. Informal education, formal education, develop that talent, turn it into a true skill and a true strength. Again, that you feel comfortable putting on your resume, right? And talking about in interviews. There are so many ways. And, I should mention, I would be remiss if I didn't. If you are thinking about an MBA or a master's degree or something in project management or, oh my gosh, human resources, we do offer a 10% discount through Long Beach Chamber of Commerce. So, and a couple of other benefits. So anyway, if that's interesting to you, not just for you, but for your employees, if you work for a large organization that has an employee base, this is a benefit that you can pass on to that organization. We also have free classes out there. And also, I don't have the link, but I can make it available. There's a link to free. They're more technically oriented, like Java, I guess programming languages and cybersecurity. And we do have some advanced business courses that are completely free, just like a Coursera or a LinkedIn Learning. Okay, so I can send that around. We also do design custom training programs for organizations where my faculty at Long Beach or throughout the region, I guess everything's Zoom now. So our faculty can teach different classes to your organization, right? Or I can present things as well, kind of more professional skills and soft skills and career development topics. So anyway, there's a ton out there. And I would say now is the time. Now is the time. We're still in January, right? So now is the time to take a look at those resolutions. What does that continuing education plan look like for you, right? And again, it doesn't have to be DeVry, okay? It can be anything, but I would just highly recommend that would be our investment. Turn the talents into strengths by getting some experience, getting some education, and we are going to be talking about letting the world know about what those strengths are at an upcoming webinar that I'm giving, actually on the 21st. I'll be talking about LinkedIn for career growth. So I'm going to talk about how to alert the world of what your strengths are using LinkedIn. And of course, anything on LinkedIn, can then go into your resume, right? So how do we alert the world of our strengths? How do we weave the story of our strengths base, and make that apparent to the world? And again, continue to lead with that. Next Thursday, I'm going to be talking about building a career framework for any of you that are thinking about completely pivoting this year, or maybe you're in between jobs or you want to do something totally different. Again, it's been such unprecedented times. If you see a lot of change in your future and you're trying to get your bearings, I would recommend next Thursday. And then also Friday, January 29th, we're going to be talking about taking your career to the next level. This is going to be more about coachability and mentorship, right? And making sure that we are coachable and that we have a mentor in order to take our career to the next level. And so I look forward to seeing you at future webinars, and I'll definitely include the links to the free learning that DeVry offers, as well as my contact information, but it is also here as well. So feel free to email me or chat me privately. And this is my phone number. I just wanted to thank you so much for your attention, for your participation, and I look forward to seeing you at future webinars. Thank you so much.
Thank you for doing this.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura. If there's any remaining questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I know as well in the chat, there is a link to our next webinar, which, as Laura mentioned, will be on next Thursday, on the 14th of January at 10 a.m. And this is just the first of 8 webinars. So we are very lucky to have this very informative series with DeVry University. We're very happy about this. This is great. And while we wait, I don't know if there's any questions, but I did want to say my Clifton strength #1 is strategy as well, Laura. So we have that in common.
Oh, very cool. Awesome. Let's talk strategy.
Yeah. I don't see any questions, but I know you did put your contact information. So if there are any lingering questions, feel free to reach out to Laura. She is great and can answer any of your questions.
Yeah, feel free to be in touch really anytime. And I do look forward to seeing you all at future webinars.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Laura. Thank you again for joining us. And thank you for everyone who attended today.